So for my 15th birthday, my mom decided to surprise me and take me to New York with her on a work trip. It was January 2005, so I was just barely 15. My mom was working for a nonprofit arts center for the city we lived in, and it was a big conference where people would come and show off their shows, and then hopefully the arts presenters would schedule them in their schedule for the show, so that the presenters could go on tour pretty much. Because my mom was going to a lot of meetings on how to run an arts center, my mom set me up with the volunteering for the conference, so I got to stuff tote bags for hours on end, and then the next day I registered people as they were arriving to the conference and handed out totes and stuff. I was 15 and I was working with a bunch of college students. It was pretty interesting. But the conference was in a hotel we were staying in. We were staying in the Hilton, New York, which is a really nice hotel, right? 3 blocks from Times Square. So that's where we mostly did all of our touristy stuff. The touristy things we did, I guess you could say, is I was a big theater buff at the time, so we definitely had to go see the popular Broadway shows at the time. So the first show we saw was The Lion King, and my mom and my brother had both seen it in Broadway before, so I was dying to go because I've heard a lot about it, and we got rush tickets for that too that were really cheap, because Disney at the time only didn't do the TKTS or anything, you can get them cheap, you had to get them rush because they were always full price because their shows always sell out. So anyway, so my mom got us seats on the aisle in the orchestra. So in the opening scene, I don't know if you know the show or not, all the animals come down during Circle of Life through the aisles, and you get to see these amazing costumes, and it's really overwhelming, and it was the first big Broadway production I had seen, so I was bawling, and it was really great. And then the next show we wanted to see was Wicked, and it had just opened the October before, so it was really new, and people hadn't really heard of it yet before it got really popular. And everyone was saying we had to see it. So the only way to see it, because it was sold out until June, and we were there in January, was to wait in the cancellation line for rush tickets. And we got there at about 10 in the morning, and no, probably more about 12, and we had to wait. We waited 4 hours in line to get tickets in the chill New York weather. And while we were waiting in line, there was the matinee performance going on, and the woman who originated the role of Elphaba, her name is Idina Menzel. She's a really famous Broadway star. The show she was performing at the time at the matinee while we were in line was her third to last performance, and we would have seen her second to last performance. But anyway, so while we're waiting in line, the way the entry to the theater is set up is you go into the side entrance, it's like a alcove area, and then there's a parking lot directly across from it, and cars can drive in between, and then there's a walkway in between. And this ambulance comes by in front of us, in front of the line on the sidewalk, directly on the sidewalk, and over by the backstage doors, which you can kind of see adjacent to the line. And they haul out this woman on a stretcher with green makeup and a black costume, and of course everyone knows who Idina Menzel is, and I have no idea who she is, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's Idina Menzel, and they're all freaking out. And she had a mask on, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. Anyways, so she was unable to perform, Idina Menzel was unable to perform for the last performance that we saw, which was kind of sad, because I could say that I had seen Idina Menzel as Elphaba in Wicked, but I didn't get to. But it was fun. The show was incredible. The last show we saw was Hairspray. I had never heard the music for that before either, but it was a lot of fun, and we got really good seats for that too, probably in the 5th row with the orchestra. We were really lucky with our tickets. The next touristy thing we did was I really wanted to go to Chinatown with my mom, and my mom loves the Orient, so she loves Chinatown and everything about it, and because she lived in Hong Kong for a while, so I wanted her there. And we wanted we had been taking cabs everywhere we went, so we wanted to definitely take the subway, because I hadn't been on the subway yet. So my mom didn't know how to get there, and we were looking at the map at the closest subway station on how to get there. And we asked this random guy, and he gave us like a 20-minute explanation, but it didn't make sense because it was leading us to the different part of the city. So we suddenly see a group of Chinese people walk by, and my mom says, we're following them. And I was really embarrassed. I was 15, and of course, mothers don't make sense when you're 15. And she's like, yep, we're following them. So we go onto the platform, and there was like maybe 20 Asians, probably Chinese people, waiting to get on the train. And the train they got on, my mom was like, we're getting on this train. And we sat on the train, and there was one particular stop where every Chinese person on the train got off. And we got off there, and we were right in the middle of Chinatown. It was perfect. It's my favorite story with my mom because only my mom would think to follow the Chinese to Chinatown because she's not PC all the time. And we started at the perfect part of Chinatown. We were on the north end of this area, and we were able to walk through Chinatown. And we eventually walked into the business district of Manhattan, into Ground Zero, and we were able to see the 9/11 site, which was really incredible. And it was only 4 years after 9/11, so it was still just a big, vast pit in the middle of the city. So it was really incredible, and it really brought the whole 9/11 experience to life in a way that I never thought I could, actually seeing it. And then also we went to the Empire State Building on a different day, and my mom had some connection with some guy who had offices in the building. So we went up to his offices first, and he was able to walk us through directly to the top, to the observation deck. And it was kind of funny because there were like maybe hour-long lines, like kind of similar to the Sears Tower, like just an hour-long line to get into the elevator to go up to the observation deck, but he was able to walk us right up, which was really cool. And that was really cool. And we didn't get to go to the Statue of Liberty, but I was able to see it from the top of the Empire State Building, so that's my claim to the Statue of Liberty. And then, unfortunately, the whole time I was there, I didn't take a single photograph of anything while I was there. I felt really bad after I went home. My dad was really mad because he wanted to see all our pictures, and I had a camera and everything, but I didn't take pictures. We were kind of foodies. Well, we're not really. We were just kind of going to like touristy places, but we went to a Chinese restaurant in Times Square called Oliver's. I think it's called Oliver's, but my mom is still convinced it's called Ray's, and I'm pretty sure it's called Oliver's. So this is like something we always argue about, is what the name of this restaurant is. Because it was a Chinese restaurant, but it was a white guy's name, so that was kind of unique. And it was a huge restaurant. It was, but the tables were really close together, and I'm from a small town, so people have space when they eat, but in big cities, people, like, they just shove tables in there. And it was 2 double-seating tables, but they were like right next to each other, and there was a couple sitting next to us, and I don't think they were dating or anything, but they were talking about their sex lives, and it was really awkward because I was 15 sitting next to my mom and listening to this couple's conversation, and that was pretty funny. And then we went to, after a show, we went and saw, we were hungry afterwards, and of course New Yorkers don't eat until 10 o'clock at night, so everyone's going to dinner, especially in Times Square, because they're all in their area to like be tourists and see shows and stuff, so they're always eating late. And we went to this little like pub diner kind of place called Sam's, and it was the first restaurant I had been in that was like candle lit. It was definitely meant to be more of a bar, and there was a guy in there playing the piano, and I had never experienced that before, and it just felt really city to me. It was really cool, and they were the best sweet potato fries there that I've ever had in my life. And me and my mom have a goal to go back there and get more of their sweet potato fries because we're both obsessed. And something kind of ironic, when we were in Chinatown, we were walking through, and we wanted good Chinese food, but the first restaurant we went into, we didn't know it was a dim sum restaurant, and I didn't know what dim sum was, but I was like, I don't think you'll like dim sum. And dim sum, I don't know if you know, it's kind of like surprises, like they just bring out boxes and then they open up the hot boxes, and you get to see what's inside. And I was like, I don't think you'll like this, and we were looking at the food everyone else was eating, and we sat down and we were waiting for our waiter, and then we stood up and left, and the poor little Chinese guy was really sad that we left, and I felt bad. But anyways, we walked a block and went to an Italian restaurant in Chinatown, which was pretty funny. And of course, I was 15, so I was a sophomore in high school, and had to do homework during the trip, which sucked because we were gone during a school week. And it was a 5-day trip, and we went home, and it was one of the best trips of my life.